Egypt, 1922. Beneath an endless ocean of burning sand, a secret had slept undisturbed for more than 3,000 years. Hidden beneath the Valley of the Kings, behind layers of rock, dust, and silence, lay the tomb of a forgotten ruler, a king erased by time. His name was Tutankhamun. Most of the world barely remembered him. Historians believed his tomb had already been destroyed by grave robbers centuries earlier. The Valley of the Kings had been searched again and again. Tomb after tomb had already been emptied. Many archaeologists believed there was nothing left to find, but one man refused to believe that. British archaeologist Howard Carter had spent years searching Egypt for the missing pharaoh. Years under the brutal desert sun, years of failure, years digging through dust and shattered stone while critics mocked him behind his back. Expedition after expedition uncovered nothing. Workers hacked through dry earth for hours beneath unbearable heat. Sweat soaked through clothing. Sand filled their lungs. Tempers grew short. Some believed the valley itself was cursed. Carter's financial supporter, George Herbert, 5th Earl of Carnarvon, was running out of patience. Money was disappearing. Results were not coming. Finally, Carnarvon delivered a warning. One final season. If Carter failed again, the search would end forever. The pressure became unbearable. Every morning, Carter walked across the silent valley knowing this could be his last chance. Then on November 4th, 1922, something changed. One of the workers struck something beneath the sand. Stone. Not natural rock. A carved step. Carter rushed toward the discovery. Workers dropped to their knees, clearing sand away by hand. Another step appeared. Then another. Then another. An entire staircase, descending into the earth. The deeper they dug, the quieter the valley became. No wind, no voices, only the sound of sand falling into darkness. At the bottom of the staircase stood a sealed doorway covered in ancient plaster. Across the seal were markings untouched for over 3,000 years. Royal Egyptian symbols, the mark of a pharaoh. Carter froze. This door had never been opened. Grave robbers had not broken through. Ancient thieves had not touched it. Whatever lay behind the doorway had remained hidden since the age of the pyramids. Carter leaned closer to the seal. And there, pressed into the ancient clay, was the name he had spent years searching for. Tutankhamun, the lost boy king, had finally been found. But Carter had no idea that opening the tomb would unleash one of history's most terrifying legends. November 26, 1922. After weeks of careful excavation, Howard Carter finally stood before the sealed doorway. The air inside the staircase felt strange, heavy, ancient. Dust covered every stone, and the silence was absolute. Carter's hands trembled as workers began breaking through the ancient plaster seal, piece by piece. The doorway opened. Behind it stood another sealed chamber, untouched. The deeper they moved underground, the more impossible the discovery became. Carter carefully cut a small hole into the second doorway. Hot air rushed from the darkness inside, air trapped for over 3,000 years. He lifted a candle toward the opening. Shadows flickered across the chamber beyond. Gold everywhere. Gold. Statues towered in the darkness like silent guardians. Strange animal-headed figures stared through the candlelight. Chariots, thrones, weapons, and treasures lay piled across the room untouched by time. The chamber looked less like a tomb and more like a forgotten world frozen in place. Behind Carter, George Herbert, 5th Earl of Carnarvon, waited impatiently in the darkness. Finally, Carnarvon asked if he could see anything. Carter stared into the glowing chamber before quietly replying that he could see wonderful things. News of the discovery spread across the world almost instantly. Newspapers called it the greatest archaeological discovery in human history. Crowds gathered outside the Valley of the Kings. Journalists flooded Egypt. Rumors began spreading through Cairo. Some believed the tomb contained unimaginable riches. Others believed something far darker had been disturbed. Deep inside the burial chamber, hidden beneath layers of treasure and stone, the boy king still waited, sealed in darkness since the age of the pharaohs, and according to legend, he was not meant to be awakened. As the world celebrated the discovery of Tutankhamun, strange rumors began spreading across Egypt. Whispers of a curse. Local workers spoke quietly about ancient warnings hidden inside royal tombs. Stories passed down for generations claimed the pharaohs protected their graves, even in death. Some believed disturbing a king's resting place invited disaster. Others laughed at the idea. But then, strange things began happening. One evening, Howard Carter returned to his home and discovered something unsettling. His pet canary, the small bird many workers considered a symbol of good luck, had been killed by a cobra. In ancient Egypt, the cobra was a royal symbol of the pharaohs. To some workers, it was a warning. Fear spread quickly through the excavation camp. Men refused to enter certain chambers alone. Some claimed they heard strange sounds deep beneath the tomb at night. Footsteps, whispering, breathing in empty corridors. Newspapers around the world began fueling the hysteria. Headlines spoke of ancient revenge and deadly curses guarding the tomb of the boy king. Then came the story that terrified everyone most. Allegedly hidden somewhere near the burial chamber were words warning of death itself. Death shall come on swift wings to he who disturbs the king. Nobody knew if the warning was real. But soon, the deaths would begin, and suddenly, the curse no longer felt like a legend. Just months after the tomb was opened, the curse claimed its first victim. George Herbert, 5th Earl of Carnarvon, had helped fund the entire expedition. Without him, the tomb of Tutankhamun may never have been found. But in early 1923, Carnarvon suddenly became ill. It began with something small, a mosquito bite on his cheek. While shaving, he accidentally cut the bite open. The wound became infected. Fever spread rapidly through his body. His condition worsened by the day. Then, on April 5, 1923, Carnarvon died in Cairo. Almost immediately, terrifying rumors exploded across the world. According to legend, at the exact moment Carnarvon died, the lights across Cairo suddenly went out. Miles away in England, his dog reportedly let out a final cry before collapsing dead. Newspapers called it proof of the pharaoh's curse. Fear spread faster than ever before. Then came another disturbing detail. When archaeologists examined the mummy of Tutankhamun, they discovered a mark on the pharaoh's cheek, in the exact same place as Carnarvon's infected mosquito bite. One by one, more deaths and strange illnesses became linked to the tomb. Some died suddenly. Others suffered mysterious fevers. A few vanished from public life entirely. The newspapers kept count. Each death made the legend stronger. Around the world, people became convinced the tomb was cursed. Even some members of the excavation team began to believe something ancient had awakened beneath the sands of Egypt. And deep inside the burial chamber, the boy king still waited in silence. Deep within the tomb, beyond layers of sealed chambers and golden treasure, archaeologists finally reached the resting place of Tutankhamun himself. Inside the burial chamber stood an enormous stone sarcophagus surrounded by towering protective statues. The air felt suffocating. Heavy dust drifted through the candlelight as workers carefully began removing the ancient seals. Beneath the stone lid rested a massive golden shrine. Then another, and another, layer after layer, like something deliberately hidden from the world. It took months to reach the coffin itself. Finally, the last lid was lifted. Inside lay the boy king, his body blackened by ancient oils and resin, wrapped tightly in linen untouched for over 3,000 years. Across his face rested the object that would become one of the most famous artifacts in human history, the golden mask of Tutankhamun. The face of the pharaoh stared back through the darkness, calm, perfect, almost alive. Archaeologists worked carefully around the mummy, but strange stories continued spreading through the excavation. Some claimed they felt sudden chills inside the chamber. Others swore the statues seemed to watch them as they worked. One worker reportedly fled the tomb after believing he heard whispering behind him in the darkness. Yet despite the fear, the excavation continued. Treasure after treasure emerged from the tomb. Golden chariots, ceremonial weapons, thrones covered in jewels. More than 5,000 artifacts hidden beneath the sands for millennia. But for many people, the greatest mystery was not the treasure, it was the curse. Because even as the world marveled at the riches of the boy king, the deaths linked to the tomb continued growing. Years passed after the discovery of the tomb of Tutankhamun. Yet the legend of the curse refused to die. Newspapers continued publishing stories about mysterious illnesses, sudden deaths, and strange coincidences linked to the excavation. To many people, the evidence seemed impossible to ignore. But not everyone believed the curse was real. Scientists and historians began searching for another explanation. Some believed dangerous bacteria or ancient mold trapped inside the sealed tomb may have made people sick after breathing the contaminated air. Others argued the deaths were simply coincidence magnified by fear and sensational headlines. After all, many members of the excavation team lived long lives. Howard Carter himself survived for years after opening the tomb. He died in 1939 from natural causes. Over time, researchers uncovered another truth. The so-called curse had been exaggerated heavily by newspapers desperate for shocking stories. Many deaths linked to the tomb had no proven connection at all. Some people reported as victims had never even entered the burial chamber. But even with logical explanations, the mystery never fully disappeared. Because something about the tomb still unsettled people. The untouched chambers, the ancient warnings, the eerie timing of Carnarvon's death, and the silent face of the boy king staring through thousands of years of darkness. Even today, many visitors to Egypt still whisper about the Curse of Tutankhamun, a legend born beneath the sands of the Valley of the Kings, a story where history, fear, and mystery became impossible to separate. And somewhere beneath the ancient desert, the boy king still rests in darkness,